I may blame the lifestyle that we have these days with our work, with our sidekicks, no, side gigs, sorry.
So, my popcorn of the week is that I started this challenge called 75 Fluent. It's mostly for language learners where you're supposed to do certain activities for 75 days, which is usually the time period of a semester. So, I started late, so I joined on the 35th day, but I'm hoping that I'll be able to complete the remaining days. And my flopcorn of the week is that among the challenges within those 75 fluent, I'm not able to tick all of it. What are your popcorn and
My
popcorn?
popcorn of the week is that I'm back to work. It's already been a crazy week with children and the whole weather actually, and a lot happening across the state, politics, and unfortunately, I don't have any popcorn this week.
Since Friendship Day recently passed us by, it was a time or a moment for us to introspect about friendships in general and where we stand in terms of our relationship with friends. So we thought this episode would be a good time to ponder over it, talk about it. The way I celebrated my Friendships Day this week was I called up one of my oldest friends, whom I have known for the past 17, 18 years. I had actually spoken to her a couple of days ago. So instead of like catching up on events or just catching up with life in general, we were just discussing about our health or our day-to-day activities. And in fact, she was doing her dishes while she was talking to me. So I guess in terms of being able to maintain friendships, there are a couple of friendships that I have been able to keep. But as many people, many millennials would identify, I have also lost a lot of friendships. So maybe you can take over and talk about how you celebrated this day.
So, welcome to another episode where we talk about millennial friendships. And yeah, so this Friendships Day, I was actually on ground. I was distributing relief for the flood affected victims in Upper Assam. Yeah, I also spoke to some of my friends, messaged a few of them, wished them a good day, thanking them for their support. I think I owe a lot to my adult friendships, especially the ones you make around your 20s, who see you through college, who help you shape the person you become. I think I've learned a lot of resilience from my friends. That is something I give completely to the people I met during college. But I think the friendships that I've lost during this phase is much more than the new friends that I've made during this period. So, yeah, I'm on the side where my friendships have lost because of distance, because of maybe lack of communication, or I may blame the lifestyle that we have these days with our work, with our side gigs, and the many other family commitments that we have. So, friendships days are weird in that sense, being in your 30s and not able to reach out to many of your friends that you still value, but at the same time I think we've crossed that bridge where you can reach out to them anymore.
I mean, in your 30s, you tend to realize that human relationships in general tend to be more about proximity or, where you are like physically placed or that regularity of pattern that life gives you, like college or
Yeah.
school for that matter. And in your 30s, that regularity is snapped and you are in different circumstances. That also leads to how you are able to or not able to maintain relationships in general. And that also reminds me about how back in the day I would want to go to some friend's house or tend to spend more time with my friend, and my parents would be like, have a sense of discipline. You cannot be so absorbed or engrossed or immersed in your friend circle. And I remember this particular conversation with my mother when I was going back on the metro. It was something to do with after like coming back from a friend's house. My mother was complaining about why I am so late and this and that. And I was really rude to her, saying that you haven't experienced what friendship means, and you don't have friends. And I knew that she was on the verge of tears because her voice suddenly changed. And she just said that you will know later in life, friends are not everything. And now, a couple of years later, I see that pattern of life happening with me or resonating with me. People I thought that I would not be able to live without, or pattern that was so essential or integral for my sustenance, I can do without it. I think it's that the generational thing, I guess. It's not something that just happens to us, but every chapter of your life has a different sort of experience, and our parents have witnessed it, experienced it, crossed it. So now it's our time. And I guess what they said was correct in some way or the other. Good for those people who never had to like uproot themselves or never had to experience that loss of adult friendship. But we are not those lucky ones.
I see it two ways actually. One is maybe we did not understand it at that point in time, but our parents' generation or our grandparents' generation, they had their own ways to maintain friendships because they were in a completely different time where they did not have instant messaging or they could not really call up instantly to someone and tell them, okay, we should meet or we should catch up. This
Yeah.
particularly, actually, this incident with your mother reminded me of how my grandmother, every week had like a fixed time to go to the temple. And once when I accompanied her, I realized that the temple as a social place was not really just for religious purposes. It was also a time when all these older women would come together. Okay, they would do their thing, and then they would sit together and talk about everything under the sun, talk about life, children, grandchildren, and this and that. And that really made me, I mean, I was too young to realize it then, but today I realize that okay, every generation, and especially women, I think they did not have that mobility to just go and meet their friends for the sake of it. So they had
Yeah,
to,
and they have to uproot themselves, especially like with marriage and
and
children.
yeah, but also once they do that, I mean, when they did not have the freedom to, simply just go and meet a friend for the sake of it. So
Mm.
they had to insert their catching up sessions into these social responsibilities like going to the market together, going to a religious place, or doing religious function at home. And these would be the
More socially
excuses for them.
appropriate or approved
Yeah,
ones,
right.
which does not come across as indulgence for
Yes,
women.
yes. And also, yeah, like you said, once they get married, especially if they get married away from home, where they lose their childhood friends, especially in the with the generation of our parents.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think
You
women,
see that women tend to lose more than men in
yes,
that sense.
yes,
And because their husband's family kind of becomes like their primary unit, his friend circle becomes her friend circle, given the absence of like social connectivity and stuff like that back in the day.
yeah, that's scary.
Yeah. I mean, that way, our generation definitely has freedom to make those choices. Like, even if you move to another place, it's not because of your like, of course, it is because of your circumstances, but it's something where you have your autonomy or you're making the deliberate choice of
Yeah,
moving for whatever reasons. It will work mostly.
yeah, and it really makes me very happy when I hear of female friends, taking the bus, train, or flying across the country, across continents actually, to meet each other just, because they can. That
Yeah.
wouldn't have been possible without, yeah, economic mobility.
Um, when we focus on this whole thing of women having to lose when it comes to friendships. Sometimes they also lose friendships because of career. And I feel that, especially as a single woman, in case you are having to like relocate, the burden or the demand to prove or be successful at your work because family or having a good married life is kind of like a marker to say that you're living a happy life. I mean, traditionally. And that is supplemented by how you excel in your career. So you're not left with an emotional bandwidth to nurture other relationships, like no matter be it your family or your friend. That way, having female friendships where one understands these sort of challenges tend to make you bond more strongly, I feel, in certain way, because you're kind of dealing with the same sort of circumstances.
Mostly, yeah, I think it also applies to me because I've relocated just so many times because of work, and every time I've lost more friends than I've earned. And eventually, it's the emotional burden that makes you, just lose that bandwidth to bond or to keep in touch. And I
Mm.
think there are exceptions. It's also, I think, because of our personality traits that, we tend to shut ourselves so that we can recharge. But at the same time, I know I have a few friends that, after a stressful day would like to be on the phone and
Mhm.
chat their exhaustion away. So that's also a way.
Mm.
But yeah, but I agree, most of us tend to recharge more than socialize more to get rid of that exhaustion.
Also, one of the things is, like you said, that we tend to drift apart and we don't have that energy to sustain relationships, something that you mentioned at the very beginning. One of the things that we said that we are going to definitely talk about in our podcast will be about adult friendships. And the source of it was an article that we read, which talked about the grief of losing adult friendship. And I recollect one of the points that the writer had made was how adult friendships, the death of it or the loss of it, it's not like a clean break. It's not like you have a huge fight or anything. It's
Yeah.
just silence and drifting away, and there's no proper closure, there's no dramatic ending, and it leaves that thing like without any closure. And we don't,
Breaks down a little bit.
yeah,
And
we don't grieve about it, like, it's just like there's a hollow there, there's a vacuum, and that stays, I guess, because, and no, no, we don't want to talk about it,
yeah,
like,
it's like sometimes, you completely forget about one person. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, unfortunately. And then the next time you think about that person, you realize, oh, it's been a couple of years.
yeah,
Yeah, and
exactly,
to think that you were inseparable in college is just unimaginable.
yeah,
You know
yeah,
what it takes for that kind of change to come in. I mean, both people, myself
yeah,
and the other person, that we are at this stage. I mean, yeah, no hard feelings, but I
yeah.
guess that's just how what adulting is or how adult friendships work.
And I guess back in the day it was easier to lose touch because less scope of keeping in
Today you
touch.
don't have that excuse.
Today, when you have multiple options, and despite that, you just suddenly drift apart, is
Yeah.
like, you realize how no matter how many mediums you have, at the end of the day, it is your willingness or reciprocity that you bring into a relationship, that you don't mind listening to somebody talk about the same story 500 times or complain about their daily life. And I guess that is the whole essence of
Imagine
friendship.
Imagine you are connected on all social networking sites and you haven't spoken in a couple of years.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that also stops you from connecting again because it's just a
You
reflection.
have nothing. I mean, that whole thing of suddenly appearing or reaching out, that kind of loses meaning in today's day and age when you are actually able to keep in touch so frequently.
Yeah. But also, I don't think it's always about willingness, even though I want to reconnect. It's just that it's so much. I don't know. It may sound like an excuse, but I'm sure it happens with all of us. It's not really unwillingness, but at the same time, there's just too much noise around you. You have, yeah, work,
I
family.
mean, now that you mentioned that you don't always want to reach out to another friend, I'm thinking about friendships that I have where I probably don't keep up with my friends. Like, also, one thing is that when I use the word friends, I am very particular about it in the sense that I will say colleagues, I'll say classmates, I'll say
Attachment.
acquaintances,
Yeah.
batchmates, but all of them are not my
But
friends.
yeah,
Yeah.
same.
So now that when I say that there are some friends with whom I don't really keep in touch, it's more like every once in a month or maybe even more that they will I'll have a big update to share. I'll message them, and the same goes for them. Like this friend of mine, a college friend, he updated me that he's going to have a baby soon, but it's not posted on social media. And but then he made sure to let me know instead of me getting to know through somebody else. So those are the kind of like, tiny little moments where you know how much that person values you. And the same goes for me
Yeah.
that uh, if I have certain updates to share, I'd be like, I don't want him to know through social media. I guess this is where you define close friendships where you don't want the information to come like through a secondhand source, but through you. One of the realizations that I had a few years ago was if you are in a relationship, if you are married, you don't place all your expectations on your husband or your boyfriend. You have friends to reach out to for different sort of issues. And I guess with friendship also it's the same that you don't expect everything from that one friend or two. You just like, I have different relations and tempo with different people.
That just reminds me that the course that our friendships take, our different friendships take, is also what bonds you with that one particular friend. You know, how you ended up becoming friends, whether you met in college, you were in the same
Yeah.
class, or you met through a mutual friend, or you became friends because you were in the same hostel. I think these factors, because of which you become friends, also define your friendship in the long run. So if it is really on the basis of common interests, I think they have like a higher possibility of surviving adulthood than if you
I think
were,
that is one of the reasons why you become friends at the first
yeah.
place because
No,
of
but
common interest.
sometimes like, you just may be working next to that person, like sitting in a common office, and you have no choice but to share like your 8, 9 hours of your
Like that
work
that way
anxiety
I'm very
and
skeptical about like colleagues because there's always that element of transactionality or potential
exactly.
utility.
So those friendships do
So
not last in the long run. So once you leave that
they're
office,
just colleagues.
move on.
I don't use
Yeah.
the
No, but like out of 10 people I used to work with in certain offices, like two of them would eventually, I mean, end up hanging out with you
yeah,
after
of
work.
course, of course.
If you really bond over, say, uh, yeah, not on gossip, I mean, maybe also
Yeah,
on
yeah.
gossip. But yeah, if you
Hmm.
figure out you have common interests, you have things to talk about outside office, you end up
Yeah.
cherishing those friendships. And even
Yes.
if you don't speak often, you would still think of
Mhm.
them fondly. I mean,
Yeah, I think in your 30s or once you graduate college, workplace is one of the primary ways in which you get adult friendships, the outlet to make more friends. Also, actually, one point that we talked about, or we think is one of the reasons that friendships don't really make it, apart from like distance and immediate emotional bandwidth, is also the income factor that kind of drift people apart. You're not able to
yes.
spend on an equal footing, and it's one of the most like real aspects of why some friendships don't make it, or it's not just limited to adult friendships being restricted or drifting apart because of the income gap. The fact that we are able to make friends even from a very young age is determined by your income level of your parents, probably, because then you go to a particular school, you go to a particular college, and that's a very important factor. And sometimes we take it for granted. We don't really ponder that much about it. But yeah,
No, but in
for
colleges,
something,
I think maybe it was not that visible. But yeah, but once you
yeah.
start working, then I think it becomes a very major factor.
But despite all these factors that makes friendship drift apart, the reasons friendships keep on going is because kind of relationship friendship demands is irrational generosity of your time, of your emotions, and not the corporate speak of being productive with your time. It's the ability to waste time without feeling any guilt about it and being there for each other, like whether you're happy to share your happy moments or in your sad times, and just being there without any agenda, just to share your life together, I guess, is what friendship has come to mean all these years. And then there are these other type of friendships that I said that I reach out once in a while. It just comes in different forms, I guess.
In that sense, I think very few of my friendships have survived the test of distance. Moving back to my hometown, I realized that in my close proximity, I actually do not have any friends left anymore. The only friends I have are all over the place. And fortunately, I only have childhood friends that I can call my own really close ones. And yeah, at the same time, I grieve my college friendships, workplace friendships, only to, today rely on friendships that I made when I was 10. Yeah.
I guess you just, like you said, you don't, um, you're not in touch with friends you made in college, but they kind of shaped you to be the person you have become. And you just acknowledge them or, sometimes contemplate and look over how they shaped you, and you keep them with you as you move along in life.
Yeah, but it's just the beginning. 30s are, yeah, they are a time when, we are also introspecting a lot. I think we are
Mhm.
becoming new people, and at the same time, I'm hopeful of making, better friends now. Maybe we are selective, which is why we have fewer friends, and which is okay.
Yeah,
I am very
yeah,
comfortable with them. And I don't have to put up a face because I want more the numbers on my phone.
yeah.
Nobody has the time or the energy to put up a face that, takes effort. I should also rejoice in the fact that, 30s are such a comfortable time. We love that we have a
I
close.
mean, we have filtered away out the
Yeah, that's also
people
a way
who,
of looking at it, that we have filtered away, or we are still filtering the circle that we want to be in. I think it's true for all of us. I think we have found our people,
yeah,
and it's
yeah,
only going to add to the quality of our circle. The more people we
yeah.
meet, whether we decide to be in each other's life, it's not just about me filtering it out other
Mm.
people. I'm sure other people also filter me out.
Yeah, yeah, of
And
course.
yeah, it's really about the bandwidth. And
Yeah,
it's nice that, we have the freedom and the option to do that now. And the people around us are understanding. We don't have that teenage confusion or
yeah.
that
You're very intentional about your friendships now.
we have our boundaries, and people who are at that stage in life, I think they understand. And that is the best thing about your 30s.
Yeah. And also, I guess the the loss of adult friendships, that concept, now that we have talked so much about it, it's like the way of like just filtering out people, the ones who want to stay or are good for your soul, they will find a way back, or they'll never leave at the first place.
Yeah, both things can be true. I mean, you can
Mm.
grieve them, and at the same time, you can be comfortable in the distance, but you still grieve those
Yeah,
friendships. I think both
yeah,
things can be true for certain people. So, those were our thoughts on friendships. And We'd love to hear about your friendships, your stories of adult friendships, and how you maintain them still. Thank you. See you in the next one.